It is night this June 4, 2021 in Cali, the third most important city in Colombia. The protesters throw stones at the police and use lasers to not let them see, committing acts of vandalism.
Uy, marica, lo cacharon. ¡Ey, para México! ¡Ayuden! ¡Ayuden, ayuden! ¡Pase eso! ¡Levántalo, levántalo!
This young man, named Jaime Rosas, was wounded by the police. 3 minutes later, he died at the aid station from the injuries he received, which was a kill by the police. That night, the protester Cristian Sanchez was injured by the public forces, who also died at the same aid station.
Hoy es 4 de junio, tenemos 2 compañeros caídos por armas de fusil.
These events occur in Cali, in the Villa Sol neighborhood. Tensions over these events have been a problem every day in this neighborhood since the national strike began on April 28, 2021. It created a great discontent because of the tax reform project by increasing taxes on the middle and popular classes, and although the project was withdrawn on May 2nd, the demonstrations continued in order to create a complaint, in addition to corruption, inequality, and violence against the protesters by the police and armed civilians, facts captured by percent of the people and our observers. At this aid station, installed at the beginning of the demonstration, this man treated the wounded the night of June 4. He asked to remain anonymous due to the threats that medical personnel have received and thus perhaps avoid a kidnap or murder by dangerous people.
At this point, we have around 30 to 3,600 to die from firearms impacts, with damage to extract the bullet from the wounds hazard, and something that carries firearm wounds is that the entry hole is smaller than the exit hole. In some, we were able to diagnose that they were carrying long-range weapons, and the something that caught our attention was that the same authorities and the state did not let us enter the ambulance to get the wounded out. When at that time there was a battle fight, we had to attend to the patient who came to us while we were lying to grass and the police grazed us. It was kind of scary.
In the place, other indications allow us to suppose that other firearms were used, like these bullet wounds in the trees. Established in a report published by 3 Colombian NGOs, 44 people would have died at the hands of the police during these first 2 months of the demonstrations, and at least 33 of them by firearms, all of this turning into a massacre. Alejandro Rodriguez works for an NGO. Videos and testimonies collected since the beginning of the strike.
Both in national regulation and international regulation, the pricing or using firearms by the public force in the context of the protest is not considered.
After the events occurred on June 4 in Cali, the Colombian police claimed to have launched a disciplinary investigation. On May 14, protesters gathered in Popayán in southern Colombia. Sebastián Quintero, a 20-year-old student, was one of them.
What does Sebastian do? He leaves on May 14 after finished selling arepas. That day he said, I am going to protest, because the day before the girl Alison had happened.
Alison, a 17-year-old teenager who was arrested on the sidelines of the May 12 demonstrations and taken to a police station by the SMAT, riot police, the next day the young man committed suicide. They lowered my pants and groped me to the soul. referring to the act of rape. That was the last message she uploaded to her Facebook account. An investigation is underway, but the millions of protesters did not wait. On the afternoon of May 14, in front of the police station which the teenager was brought, the tension exploded. The demonstrations become violent. The police respond with the grenade launch venom, which means poison in Spanish. A new weapon used in Colombia, according to the videos of the same Colombian police, venom is a non-lethal weapon designed to disperse the demonstrations. With a load of tear gas and stun grenades. Allows parabolic shots so do not cause injuries. But the videos recorded in Popayan on May 14 show that some grenades were fired directly towards the demonstrators, even against some who were very close to the launcher. On June 2nd, the justice ordered to suspend the use of the venom in Popayan for its direct use on the protesters. That May 14, the police also used it against the demonstrations, the water tank, stun grenades, and armored vehicles. At the end of the afternoon, in another video on the same avenue, a confused scene is seen. Low detonation, then a protester is evacuated among the crowd. Is Sebastián Quintero. According to the NGO Human Rights Watch, the responsible could be SMAT.
SMAT dispersed a peaceful protest with tear gas canisters and stun guns. According to the videos and other evidence, one hit him in the neck. And apparently, I don't know, another is done by the police. So there is cases armed to the boys. There is a perimeter act. It is a deliberate action on the part of Hubert Throwitt.
An investigation was opened, but by the end of June, no official source have provided any information on the causes of Sebastián Quintero's death. Although they caused fewer deaths than firearms, the so-called non-lethal weapons have killed 4 people since June 28. According to the NGOs, injured another 207 people.
Something we see is the gas cylinders have been thrown directly into the faces of the protesters, and he has a clear objective of generating a disability and also having a permanent wound on people's body, which although is not to murder, it is going to take away and leave a wound for life, such as losing his vision.
Activists have recorded 149 facial injuries, 70 of them in the eyes.
¡Devuélvanse a su territorio! ¡Aquí no son bienvenidos!
May 9 in Cali. In this exclusive neighborhood in the south of the city, the inhabitants confront the indigenous protesters who have come from Cauca, a neighboring department. They demand that they participate in the protest. Right there, a man in a white shirt shoots in direction of the indigenous protesters. That day, the same scene is repeated in 2 more areas of Cali. In that roundabout and on that street. The gun that this man is using in the video is what is known in Colombia as a traumatic weapon. It shoots rubber bullets, and it's not supposed to be lethal. A video recorder in this neighborhood is particularly disturbing. A policeman seems to accompany a plainclothes man who shoots at the indigenous protesters a few meters away. That day, they used no lethal traumatic weapons, but also lethal weapons, according to the indigenous protesters. 12 of them were injured.
The reading we had these white-shirted civilians who were armed is that if the police were there, one can deduce that they were civilian police officers.
This incident is not an isolated case. On May 28 in Cali, men in civilian clothes fired on protesters on a bridge. There were also police officers by their side. Andres Escobar is one of these civilians. He's a businessman from the neighborhood. He later explained that together with his neighborhood, he created a group to defend, according to them, private property in the neighborhood against the violence of certain protesters. He said that he shot a traumatic weapon, not lethal.
The shots were to dissuade them since they were advancing towards the kite.
At the same time that the shoots were taking place, just 1 kilometer away, a concert was taking place in support of social mobilization. Álvaro Herrera, 25-year-old, is a student and one of the musicians, but the concert ended early for security reasons, due to another shooting. Armed men in civilian clothes and policemen were also involved in these events. Álvaro Herrera ended up in the middle of the shooting when he was trying to get back home.
I started recording all this time until at a given moment one of the arrived civilian backs away, pointed his guns at me and in self-defense. I looked astounded, then another civilian arrived at my left side, grabbed me by the neck. He submitted me with the intention of hurting me. In drive to set point where he handed over the national police.
Álvaro Herrera was taken to a police station where he was forced to make a false statement. He was released the next day. The circumstances of his arrest reveal the existence of a complicity between the police and the armed men in civilian clothes. The police are investigating this case. A second investigation is underway to identify the civilian who fired on the protesters on May 28, as well as the police officers who did nothing to prevent it. On June 6, the Colombian president, Iván Duque, announced that the police will be better trained in the use of force and respect for human rights, but Duque refused to demilitarize the police and transfer them from the Ministry of Defense to the Ministry of Interior, as the NGOs demanded, and the demonstrator. This decision could reduce the violent repression.